Hello again, ladies and gents. Welcome back to the AJ Roberts Show. Today we are super excited to be joined by none other than Kerry K, all the way from South Africa. Many of my followers and listeners will have seen Kerry on Instagram, on TikTok. I've been a big fan for a long time. I saw people in my family and friendship circles, and I even put a shout out the other day and said that Kerry was coming on, and everyone got super excited. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Kerry.
Thank you so much, AJ. Thanks, everyone. It's great to be with you.
So, Kerry, without further ado, I mean, like, just share all about yourself. I mean, you're such a fascinating story. Like, I love the way, you deliver your message on a daily basis to people relentlessly with your videos. But where did it all start for you? Like, everything you do.
Right. It started in childhood, and it started where most good things do, which is in absolute turmoil. I was fighting for my life as a child. I was really, really ill. And that's where Kerry K was born, was in the midst of that struggle and hardship. I was given a diagnosis by numerous doctors that had told my mom, it's unlikely that your daughter will reach the age of 12. And I kind of defied those odds because I'm 47 and I'm really proud to be 47 when you're told you're not even going to hit 12. But those first few years, I was on death's door a lot of the time. And you know what? It was the best place to be. It was the greatest gift in my life, because being on so-called death's door is what brought me to life. Because if I didn't have that experience, I would be dead, but thinking that I'm alive just because my heart's beating, because that's what I see in the world out there. I see so many dead people with a heartbeat, and they don't even know it, and they're walking around like they're embracing life. And so I'm this voice that's telling people, there is this veil. We always talk about the veil that separates us from our own consciousness, the veil that separates us from our loved ones who are on the other side. So we're aware that there's this veil, but maybe not aware of how close to home that veil really is. It's not out there, it's right here. The veil sits right over our eyes. And when we remove the veil, so many things happen. We start seeing life as it is, which can be a very painful process, but it's a very liberating process. We start to see and connect with our own higher consciousness. We start to see beyond the narrative. Everything starts to come alive to you when that veil starts to thin and thin and thin to the point that it eventually disappears. So I got that gift. I got that gift through illness. And it wasn't given to me once. It was relentless. The universe kept saying, keep going, Kerry, keep going. Here's more, here's more, here's more. So I was permanently there in that in-between life-death state. And from the age of 12 to maybe my late teenage years, I still went there, but just less frequently. And in all of that time, it opened up so many channels of communication. It allowed me to connect with a group of beings that today I call the galactics. And these galactic beings are exactly that. They're star beings that have taught me so much. And I don't channel, because a lot of people say, Kerry, oh, I love your channelings. I've got nothing against anybody that does channel. I don't. And the reason that I don't channel is because my role in this world is to teach people to connect to their own consciousness. Because we're all galactic beings. Here's me telling you that I've been connecting with galactics, but the galactics have taught me one thing, and that is to be my own higher self, my galactic self. And therefore, that's what I teach people. So we can certainly channel, but we don't have to imagine that that's how we're going to get information. We're going to get information by receiving it, by opening ourselves up to participate in our own lives as conscious creators in our lives, to become present on the planet, and not just on the planet, to become present in the cosmos. Think about that for a moment. Everybody's kind of like, maybe at a push, present in their own life, at a push. But what if you were present in your country? Can you feel how there's an expansion when you consider, hey, what if I'm present in ... fill in the name of your country, and then go, oh, wait. What if I am present in your continent? And then what if I'm present in the oceans that surround my continent? In other words, what if you expand your presence, right? And what if you expand your presence so that the whole world is your home, because it is? We've been taught barriers, boundaries, barricades, but that's not the truth of who we are. And then we can even pierce beyond that and say, wait, what if I'm present in the cosmic field? And what if I take my time and really allow myself to feel my presence as the expanded galactic self that I am? That's my work. That's what I teach people. And that's what I learned through tremendous illness and hardship.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? That is the trend. That is the theme. Every person I meet and have met and have had on the podcast is very much teaching the human race about consciousness expansion, the evolution of consciousness, and what we're all about. Every single person's been through a lot of trauma, addictions, like just carnage, throughout their life. And I think that's where that duality is that we have to experience, isn't it? I'm still yet to meet anybody who talks about any of this who've literally been brought up with a silver spoon in their mouth and had the most amazing life possible, like dancing around palm trees on an island. So it's just that I haven't met anybody like anywhere close to that. Everyone's been through some real rough stuff to come out the other side. And do you think that is almost like that those experiences are needed to really bring out that true essence of us as beings, like of who we actually are? Otherwise we can't break past it.
Absolutely, 100% so. And the very definition of what we are and who we are alchemists. We are here to alchemize energy. And yet we have been very purposefully ushered into a mindset of resistance and avoidance. So we resist things that are uncomfortable. We avoid things that are too big to deal with. So that is the exact opposite of what an alchemist does. What an alchemist does is an alchemist says, I am neither the light nor the dark. I am not the good or the bad. I am not the lies, and I am equally not somebody else's truth. I am just that. I am. In other words, I am presence. And then when you connect with yourself as the I amness of you, in other words, the presence and the power of you in its very raw, open potential, at that point, you invite in the alchemist, which is a version of yourself that is here to literally bring energy into cosmic union, to bring energy into divine balance. And that's what your body does. And that's what your body is for. We have used the body for everything it's not designed to be used for. This thing here, this is a transformer. It transforms energy. And it moves energy from one state of being into another. But think of the mindset we've been ushered into. I mean, it's madness. The mindset we've been ushered into is that all the energy out there controls who we are, that all the energy out there determines who we are, what we think, our life circumstances, etc. But as we awaken to the truth of the alchemist within, we stop being afraid of what lies without, because why would I fear anything when I'm here to transmute everything? Everything I see. If I'm switched on and I'm in my higher alignment, everything I see, everyone I interact with is positively affected by my alignment. That's the power of one person. And yet, again, the mindset exists that says, oh, I'm just one person. What can I do? I mean, we have beings on this planet. Buddha, Jesus the Christ, they've left legacies of what just one person can do. Just one person. So that's all we need, actually. We really just need one person to be their higher alignment. And we're sorted. But we're just so used to being informed by the external instead of informing our world. In other words, instead of shaping and creating and broadcasting to the world around us, we've just been ushered into this mindless, powerless place of subservience to all the external energies. It's just not who we are, though.
Absolutely.
We were not designed for that. The human being is truly a godlike being. And we're just getting switched on now. We're just coming back online now.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I was explaining previously, like I'm seeing it everywhere. And that's the beauty of going around the country, doing all the talks I'm doing, running my monthly courses. I get everybody from like 15 up to 75, years of age from South Africa to Australia to Canada. So I'm seeing it on a weekly, monthly basis. You know, exactly what you're talking about. People are coming back online, and they are starting to ask questions about who they are, and they're seeing all the illusions around them. They're seeing the destruction and the chaos, but also the collapse of all these industries that have been, you know, enslaving us in this like enslavement bubble, basically. You know, so we're running off to work and paying our taxes and just being good little citizens on the hamster wheel to pay our energy bills. And people are really seeing that for what it is. And a part of that is knowing who you actually are, because, you know, with it's the same body that's been enslaved, but it's not necessarily the same mind and soul. That's growing like at an exponential level. And so many people at the minute are really soul searching in their own different ways, because we are on this journey. And that is the beauty of that. You know, I'm seeing it everywhere now. And we alluded to before recording about the male population and just how much the males are really coming online. And I'm getting guys coming on their own to my talks, which is amazing. Stepping out of that stigma, that dogma of everything's about mental health and they just need to keep it all inside. You know, the guys are really exploding into life. And, you know, you mentioned that's one of the greatest things that you're seeing within your community.
It's given me hope, honest to God. People sometimes look at children and they say, this is my hope for humanity, which is beautiful. My hope for humanity is the men. It always has been, because I understand their power. And for the most part, they do not. For the most part, their power was the very thing that was shut off at all costs and shut down. But when that power comes back online again, oh, we've got the world that we wanted. We've got the reinforcement that we wanted. See, the role of the divine feminine was and always will be soft, supportive, encouraging, guiding. It's not this one is better and this one is worse, this one is more and this one is less. They do different things. The divine masculine and the divine feminine, they operate differently. They're designed to. And of course, we each have masculine, feminine traits within. Of course, we each do. Yet, we will hold a predominant affiliation and alignment to one of those two beautiful higher consciousness aspects. The divine masculine is action. That's what he is. When the divine masculine comes online, there's action and there's power, and the feminine is bolstered. You can't say the one is better than the other, in the sense that many people have. AJ, many people have done this. They've said, oh, it's all about the divine feminine. It's all about the divine feminine. No, it's all about both. It's all about us as wholeness. But right now, the masculine is having its awakening. Oh God, the relief that brings me in my heart to know that. And to know that it's taking place exactly where it was designed to take place, in the so-called average, ordinary man's life. There's no such thing as average and ordinary. But that's what we've been ushered to believe. And that's exactly what comprises the populace of humanity. That's exactly where all that power has been locked, in that so-called average, ordinary man's life. And man, it's coming online now. It is truly being liberated. It's truly being unblocked and unlocked. And men are learning, oh, wow, my power is not aggressive. Because it was demonized. Men's power was absolutely taken away from them. It was demonized. And to learn that we can all be powerful without being aggressive, huge explosion of the mind for so many people. But it's exactly the power of that divine masculine. And when he comes on board, then the divine feminine is kind of free to expand even more and go, oh, the world is a safe place now. Because that's what the divine feminine needs. The divine feminine needs that reinforcement that says, you're allowed to be exactly who you are and to take up space, which is exactly what women were told they're not allowed to do. Women were told, you got to be as thin as you possibly can be. And I'm all about health, and I think that's a wonderful message. But there was this damaging message sent to women that said, don't take up space. Whatever you do, squeeze yourself into the tightest possible outfit you can. Squeeze yourself into the smallness so that you don't take up room. Now the divine feminine is going, oh my God, what's happening on the planet? What's new here? Why do I feel more expansive here? The divine masculine's coming online. And this is this moment in our history of awakening. This is what I personally was always waiting for and praying for, and what I'm seeing in front of me right now. It's just the beginning, but that's all we need. Because that's exactly how a snowball's going to start,
Yeah.
Just with that tiny, tiny beginning, and we've got it.
Absolutely. And I mentioned before, I've seen it all over the place. And as someone who's been the observer, like especially over the last 3.5 years, I've been to like all the mass protests in different places around the country, and predominantly it was very much probably about 85% female, some places more. In my talks, for example, was very much females to start with, whereas guys, a lot of guys now filling the seats and coming on their own. Teenage lads as well are coming online. They're really seeing a lot of the BS for what it is. And I do a lot of work with teenagers like for this reason, because I can see that they're seeing past all the BS, and that like a lot of them have been awakened through things like TikTok and people like yourself, and that's been the beauty of like channels like that. Because there's a resonance with them, and a lot of them are literally sitting there, even in schools, they're all asking questions like, why am I being taught this? Like, how is this going to benefit me in the future? And that's all part of it as well. But from the divine masculine, like you're saying, coming online, and men actually realizing what that actually is, what that feels, embodying those feelings and thoughts, and also like the aspirations to dive deep into their spiritual journey. And that doesn't mean like suddenly you need to drop your builder's outfit and suddenly start wearing linen clothes, walk around the planet with a big staff and that called, I'm with Jesus. It's not like that. It's literally just awakening to your power of your mind, your body, your vessel, your chakras coming online, people feeling what that feels like, that expansion, and just talking about it. And that's why, I'm so keen to do podcasts like this, and previously of Aaron Abke, like to open that space for guys to just go, man, I really am more than what I've been led to believe, and what the movies tell me, and all the subliminal messaging, and all the pesticides, and the attack on my consciousness, like all of this kind of stuff. And then they're just like, wow, this is exciting, and I'm getting guys I used to serve with in the military now coming online, and they're just like, bro, this is amazing. And then we joke and we say, can you imagine us like giving each other a little nudge in the mess on a Friday or Saturday night, saying, I'm just going to sack it early, guys. I'm a big meditation in the morning. In the army, it just wouldn't happen. So it's amazing to see so many guys are just like, wow, man, I am actually powerful as fuck. Like in that true sense, not from an ego perspective.
Absolutely. In the realm of truth, this is it. This is men's energy. And when it gets activated, when men have the courage to experience life, because the way that they were taught, which is the same that women were taught, actually, it's no different. And that is, we were all taught to think our feelings instead of to feel our feelings. But of course, society, the conditioning for men was that much harder than it was for women. So the push to suppress men's power was pretty feverish, and it was coming from a place of rightful fear, because the power of men is so awesome that it would inspire fear in those trying to oppress it. But that measure of oppression was so extreme because men's power is so extreme. But what facilitates them coming online is there's this truly divine balance point. And it's where they learn, okay, it's safe for me to feel my feelings. Beyond that, it's safe for me to experience my feelings. So instead of analyzing, instead of thinking, instead of suppressing, we now have the contrast, which is to feel and to experience. That's where they start coming online, right? And then that balance point that I spoke about is where men learn the difference between projecting a feeling and actually experiencing it. Because societally, we were all taught anger is dangerous. This isn't true, but this is what we were taught. Anger is dangerous because if I'm angry with you, I could punch you. I could hurt you. I could wound you. I could wound somebody else. Therefore, don't be angry. Bottle, suppress, do whatever you got to do. And the truth is not that. The truth is anger is a really powerful energy that should be alchemized. So anger is raw potential, and what its role is to move a person into action. That's what anger does. Anger is kind of like that fire underneath you that's going to make you do something. And society said, whoa, no, we can't have the humans doing things. We can't have the humans taking action. So let's just circumvent that and teach them how bad anger is and give them examples of destructive anger. We don't really see examples in our world of constructive anger. In other words, where somebody has really been outraged, for example, by a situation. I call that righteous anger, like where something outrages you because it's just plain wrong. Somebody's hurt a child, they've hurt an animal, for example, right? Then you bring that energy inside of you, and here's the magic. The magic is when you say, oh, I don't have to punch it out. I don't have to hit it out. I don't have to verbally spew something at someone. For a woman, I don't have to throw a vase. I don't have to throw insults. I actually have this powerful ability to breathe that energy, to circulate that energy through my body. And when you do that, that's when the Alchemist comes online. When you circulate that divine surge of what was once anger through your body, it becomes rightful action. And that's what inspires somebody to move forward in the right direction, to say the right thing or to do the right thing. So the teaching and the learning, therefore, is to learn how to take these emotions that we all experience and transmute them within, instead of project them without, transmute them within into its own higher form. Then we discharge that original energy or that original emotion. We've absolutely brought it full circle. Now it can be discharged because all emotions want that. All emotions want to come through a circuit within us. Once that circuit is complete, the emotion's done, it's dissipated and it's discharged, and we are then left in higher alignment. Men are getting this now. This is what we're seeing. This is what's facilitating the awakening that we're talking about. Men are realizing I'm powerful enough to feel things, and the way society told me to feel things, which was by projecting, doesn't make sense. It's not the truth. There's something else, because there is.
Absolutely, and the guys know it, and like it's a, I like to call it like a grand reconnection of the head, heart, and balls. You know, on mass around the world. You know, people like, even like I'm the oldest of 4 boys, and even my brothers are very much like, you know, coming online to it, a lot of it, and you know, they're just like, oh, there's so much crap in the food, there's so much crap in the water, there's so much, you know, that the chemicals circulate around your water system in your house when you're using all these cleaning products. You know, they're seeing all the stuff, all the financial corruption. They're being squeezed themselves, so they feel to the point they're just like, what is the point in all this? You know, like, I just feel like I'm going to work every day just to pay these fraudulent bills and put this expensive poison food on my table for me and my children. Like, they're literally saying that out loud now. So, and that is all part of it, you know, to see all the corruption and the illusions, to witness and feel the darkness, so that you all want the light, and that, which is where we know we're all heading to as light beings. and which is phenomenal. And you know, it's great to see so many guys actively taking up breath work, actively taking up meditation, you know, learning a bit more about better conscious nutrition, going to guys groups, which is all about this health stuff, not mental health roundtables and suicide roundtables, which just co-manifests more problems, as we know. They're actively getting out there and putting that step forward, and that barbarian, you know, that alpha male, that protector is very much coming online. They're not just sitting back and seeing how the women get on, because the ladies are more intuitive. They do want to know more information. They have that motherly instinct, that protector role. That's why early days we're seeing very much women there, front foot forward, like the lionesses. You know, it's literally like it's like that scenes from The Lion King, where it's all about the lionesses on their own trying to fight back against like this male dictator that's like looking down, until the male grows up or awakens, comes back to the pride, and then they're surrounded by the lionesses as he's then protecting them. Like, it's literally like that scene, you know.
That's exactly it.
Well, in terms of the other stuff that you do, obviously with your coaching and your spiritual teachings, you know, you're going to come across like different arrays of people all the time with different experiences, different like emotions, different goals, and that kind of stuff. With what you teach to a person, like what is the foundations really of what you do, is in to get a person from where they are to where they want to be?
So one of the things that I teach people is there's multiple ways to heal. There's multiple ways to raise your frequency. There's multiple ways to do anything. But I'm a really impatient person. That's just me. And I love things to be adventurous and thrilling and full throttle. Again, that's just me. It's not going to be everybody. So what I do is I look at healing. And I was in it for enough years, and I did, you know, I was a breathwork facilitator for many years, and I've done so many different modalities. But what I kept seeing was this fundamental flaw in the healing process, and that is that people would drop into analysis. There were these stumbling blocks. Analysis was one of them, and superiority was another, kind of like saying, you know, when you get those people that go, I've opened up my base chakra, and now I'm more enlightened than you are. Now I'm having a Kundalini experience and you know. So I watched the spiritual ego take place. I watched the analysis take place, and I went, whoa, hold on. Something crazy is going on here. Then I went back to my conversations with the galactics and what they inspired in me, which was to present myself in my wholeness. So in other words, I didn't pitch up to a meeting with them as Kerry the wounded healer, or Kerry the wounded human, or Kerry who's going through trauma. I pitched up to those meetings in the only way that I could as one of them. So I had to learn to access a part of me that's fully healed. I had to learn to access a part of me that's omnipotent, whole, multidimensional, and cognizant of who I am in my expansiveness. And because I had that opportunity to show up as one of them, I learned very quickly, that's why the human beings keep falling and flailing, because they're convincing themselves of their trauma and their woundedness, and they cannot see how easy it is to just transcend it. To just transcend it. So my work is look, guys, we can do this the slow road. We can analyze whatever's going on here to death. And those analyses would probably be correct, right? But they're not going to grow you really quickly. You're not going to have a quantum leap, because in 10 years' time, we're still going to be talking about your mother issues or the time your father did this or whatever it might be. We have to learn to access the self that exists beyond the small, fragile ego. We have to learn to connect to that expanded self. So I have an online community, and I meet with them every single week. And every single week we do that. We speak for an hour and a half, and I take them through a process of, let's connect you to the higher version of you some way, somehow. Each week is going to be different. But that is what I feel the most powerful work on the planet right now. It's the work of transcending the smallness that we were imprinted with, transcending the false self, the slave self, the ego, in other words, and really accessing our divinity, really accessing our multidimensional truth now, because we don't have time left to dilly-dally anymore. And there's a lot of people out there that are acting as if we do, and quite honestly, we don't. Quite honestly, it's just time to transcend all the madness.
Yeah.
So that's where I take people. So of course, it's going to take a very special kind of person to work with me. It's going to take a very different kind of person who's going to go, okay, I'm ready for quantum leap. Let's go. And you got to know when you're working with quantum leaps, shift is going to surface, right? It's going to come right up, and guess what? It's going to propel you, because that's the role of darkness. The role of darkness has always only ever been to catalyze the light. So the more we run away from ourselves and our shadow and our darkness and our fragility, the more we run away from that, the more we run away from those quantum leaps. So I teach people it's going to be uncomfortable, but let's go anyway. You might be afraid, but let's go anyway. And that's not really what humanity has been ushered into. Humanity has been ushered into, oh, poor baby, it hurts. Okay, let's not look at it then. You know, and I'm the opposite. Yeah. I'm like, oh, it hurts. Good, let's go.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, when you look at like pretty much all of society has been bred into looking towards the governments. And, you know, you only have to look at the males in every government, right? Show me in the same governments that have basically carried out what they've carried out around the world. Show me an alpha male in any of their ranks. Show me a big dude who works out with a chest, an awesome beard in any of those governments that stands tall when he's in front of the camera, is really articulate and meticulous with his words, is bold in his actions. Like, find a male like that in any of these governments. You won't, because they don't want males to look in on any of them, you know, and see that as a role model. They want them to look at these like little guys that stand there like this, you know, all small and skinny and decrepit, and just speaking double speak, you know, in code. And it's all scripted, obviously, and that's what's happened up until this point. But obviously, from the actions of many of these governments from 2020 and beyond, this huge operation that we found ourselves into, awakening humanity, obviously that from then till now has obviously taken non-quantum leaps and bounds, like multiple quantum leaps. But in terms of people's like awakening process now, many people are sort of feeling things. They're going through this shift. It could be just awakening to corruption. It could be just like going, do you know what? I think the government might be colluding with the media. You know, just little things like that. Some people even go as far as say, like, I definitely think we're in a movie, you know, which for me is always quite a bit of a kicker in terms of their perception of reality. But is it okay just to sort of like, from your perspective, just to kind of give people an idea of what awakening is, and like what they might expect to feel along that process, because everyone's feeling different things with their bodies. I know me yesterday, I had so much nausea, and my head was just like this, you know, and I'm constantly spending time in my garden grounding myself. But everyone's feeling everything different because we're all on this different journey.
Exactly. Yeah. So what happens is this process called awakening is the process that I spoke about in the beginning, where the veil gets pulled away from where it's been over your eyes. And as that happens, there's the discomfort that I was talking about, because there's the discomfort now. The first thing you're going to face is yourself. So when I hear people tell me, oh, I'm facing the world and the governments and the corruption, okay, that's really cool and it's necessary. But the fundamental step is the facing of self, because that's when we actually become powerful. And that's what the awakening process is all about. So either a person's first going to see themselves in more clarity and more light, or they're going to see the external world. Same thing, with more clarity and more light. Doesn't matter which way around we go, but that's going to be one of the first fundamental steps of the awakening process. I'm having the veil removed. I can now start to see. And because I can see more, I'm going to feel more. And that's where a lot of those symptoms come from. Now, suddenly, because I'm not kidding myself, because I'm engaging with more authenticity, you spoke about nausea. Nausea is one of the most common side effects, because think about if something really traumatic happens, a lot of the time, trauma is going to evoke nausea. Because why? You've got something inside of you that you literally want to purge. You literally want to get it out of you. And we've been in such a mindless, blanked out stupor that we haven't been able to connect to the stuff that's within. So we've been busy, you know, you spoke so beautifully about the politicians and the examples of men that we've seen on stages around the world. And it's such a perfect point. And I'll bring it back to this awakening story. It's a perfect point because we've been taught that this is what we must be in the world: suave, polished, sophisticated, all about the appearance, the outer appearance. Whether you're a male, whether you're a female, the teaching is the same thing. It's all about how people perceive you and what you look like. Now, in the awakening journey, it's not. Everything gets flipped upside down. And now suddenly, oh, whoa, it's about what I feel. So a lot of these things called Ascension symptoms are people feeling things that were once suppressed. And now those once suppressed things are actually moving through the body, because remember I spoke earlier about emotions and how they're meant to circulate, and how we were circumvented and prevented from that process of circulating and therefore discharging our emotions. The process of awakening, the body's going to just do it, which is why people say, I don't know what's going on with my body. Because yes, The brain is now not running the show. The body and the body's consciousness is coming online. So you're going to feel, you're going to experience energy.
Mm.
And the self that we once were, the illusory self, the enslaved self, was so shut down, so disconnected that they didn't even know. We didn't even know we were disconnected. If you would have asked any of us, myself included, whilst we were there with the veil over our eyes in that blind stupor, if you would have said, are you connected to yourself? We were so blind, we would have said, yes. Oh, yeah, sure. Because we didn't know, we had no idea. We didn't even know how disengaged and disconnected we were. But the process of awakening now gives us something to contrast. So now we go, oh, whoa. Now I'm coming online. I'm feeling these things. I'm having these experiences. I got ringing in the ears. I got dizziness. I got sleeplessness. My taste buds are changing. I suddenly want food I didn't like before. And food that I did like, I don't like. And people I loved, I just don't want to be around. And all of these interesting things that seem to be anomalous, but it's not an anomaly. It's just the side effect of getting authentic and experiencing life at a new level of, I was going to say understanding, but that's the wrong word, at a new level of experience where you're actually engaging with energy instead of with thought, where we were stuck. That's where, I talk a lot about the false matrix, and that's really where the false matrix ushered us into, was into becoming so analytical and so linear that we lost access to our divinity. So now the awakening process is putting us back into the driver's seat, so to speak, of our lives and of our body. And that's where people get a little bit jittery and they say things like, oh, this is really uncomfortable. I'm so out of sorts. And then they try to shut it down. But the great thing is, where we're at energetically, we can't do that anymore because we're not in control of our awakening anymore. We're not. 5 years ago, honestly, you could have shut it down. You could. It would have been hard, but it was possible. Today, no. Because your soul has come in and your soul has said, maybe it's awakening time. Let's go.
Yeah.
And it's not a request. It's not, is it okay with you? Does it suit you now? Is this a good time? No. When your soul steps in and it says, this is awakening time, then that's what it is. And then either you go kicking and screaming and crying and saying, why me? Or you go with thrill and awe and excitement because you understand the blessing that's just occurred. Either way, awakening is what we're in the process of right now. The veil gets thinner and thinner, and we start to actually experience ourselves and enter the room we were once locked out of, aka the body. That's the room we were once locked out of. We now get to fill up our body with our presence. And when that happens, we discharge a lot of entities. We release a lot of blocked energies, and we become powerful. But we're scared of our power. So look at the conundrum there. Oh, yeah, here I am becoming powerful, but here I am afraid of my power. So which one do I do? Obviously, we can delay this all we want to, but we are rapidly moving beyond the clutches of fear and rapidly moving to a place where even when fear does come and it does grab at your heels, because it's going to try to pull you down again, that's okay. Even when that happens, you find, oh my God, I don't know why, but life keeps supporting me. I don't know why, but circumstances keep shifting me into these higher and higher and higher outcomes. Again, that's part of the awakening process. Part of the awakening process is realizing I'm not controlling this, but at the same time, I'm not being controlled.
Yes.
Instead, I'm being invited into a union, a creative conscious union with my own soul where we grow together. We're not used to being in this level of authority and dominion in our own lives. And that's where we are. That's where we're being asked to show up now as the authority.
Yeah, and that's what people are feeling. Like, for some people, it's a bit scary. They're just like, whoa, what are these things that I'm feeling? And you touched on symptoms there. I speak to people daily, well, it's daily for me. The ear ringing is just like all the time. And like, same with my family. I've even got young members in my family who are like 8, 9, 10. They're experiencing it. I talk to people about, the talks all the time about it. People are getting a lot of activity in the third eye areas. It decalcifies and, blossoms out. the crown starts kind of opening like a lotus, and you're getting fed with fantastic information, downloads, and you're just getting like and that white light, and we're just all getting filled with that information and everything about us, and people are really connecting to their auric fields, their quantum fields, aren't they? And as I explained to guys on my course last night that I'm running, that one of the guys was saying about the synchronicities that him and his wife are experiencing, like literally just on tap. And I was like, that's you tapped into your quantum field. People are seeing their same numbers all the time. So like I see 17 and 144 everywhere. Like, and I know that's me aligned. They're my numbers. I'm tapped into I'm connected. And that's basically what a lot of people are experiencing as well. Also, people are really paying attention to thinking something, and then somebody in their field repeats what they're thinking. That's a very common thing I'm finding that people are experiencing right now as well. And that's all a big part of all this. But coming out the other side of a lot of that, what would most people likely expect? Because, we talk about this like transition into new earth, and there's a lot of like misconception around that. What does that look like? You could literally type it in on different search engines and get multiple different answers. Some people are like, oh, we're going to transcend to a whole new planet and leave all our sleep family behind. They're just going to wear masks all day and blah, blah, blah. Oh, my pet's going to come with me. Well, I still have my kids. Like, there's lots of this conversation happening around. What's your your thoughts on this whole process? Because we are going into that, I guess, a new earth, but in terms of levels of consciousness and higher dimensions and the capabilities, etc. But to you, what does that look like?
Yeah. So, I think one of the things that I've become known for is just saying it how it is. Because I didn't used to. I really didn't. I used to really consider, not everyone's going to be ready for this. And I would really neater my words and hold back. So I'm just not going to do that. Okay. I'm going to just lay it out. So we're in the process right now, which we call awakening, of aligning ourselves to our own higher multidimensional consciousness. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Don't stand in your way. This is where people try to control it, but you can't control it. You can only allow it to happen. This brings us to a very important crescendo. It brings us to this boiling point that we're headed to right now, where we have one final split of the timeline. So a timeline is where we are right now. It's a reality. We have one timeline right now, which is literally bubbling and boiling with every conceivable frequency being housed and held in this one timeline. So if we were to stand outside the timeline and look at it, we would go, holy smoke, that thing's going to blow. Because it literally, it's going, wah, wah, wah. It looks like it's filled to capacity, because it actually is. A timeline, which is a reality, is not designed to long-term hold all these different frequencies. It can do it for a very short space in time. That's where we are right now. We are in a short period of insanity. And it looks like insanity because we've got all these contrasting energies and all these different, I call them worlds, because they're so vastly different from each other. There's hate and there's compassion and there's love and there's greed and there's envy. It's just everything. And there's even enlightenment in the mix. There's everything in this one timeline. But it's going to bubble and it's going to boil and it's going to blow and it's going to pop. And that moment of that final splitting of the timeline into two timelines, which I'll explain in a moment, that final splitting is called the Ascension event. And it's where we have a signal from the sun. People call the signal from the sun a micronova, also known as a solar flash. It's spoken about in so many ancient mythologies because it's not the first time it's going to happen, nor is it the first time it will happen. This is a cyclical event where the sun sends out a massive coronal ejection into our solar system. So it's so big that it doesn't just hit our planet. It is so big that the entire solar system is blanketed in a flash of light from the sun. And at that point, see, when I talk to most people about this, AJ, they go, oh, well, no, that's an extinction level event. Nothing's going to survive that. A micronova, which is not quite a supernova, but it's pretty damn close. From the human perspective, this is a scary thing to think and talk about. It's not an extinction level event. It is, however, the end of that one timeline that I was talking about that's doing this wah, wah, wah and getting ready to move. It's just waiting for that flash from the sun. That's the point that then separates the timeline. One's going to go off into 4D. And 4D is another planet. So those people who leave on the 4D timeline, they will leave their body, they will leave this life, they will leave this incarnation, and they will go and they will populate another 4D planet. That planet's already allocated, it's already set aside, it's already being conditioned to host life. And as far as I'm aware, there are already people populating that planet. We would look at those people and say, okay, those are the ones who are not ascending right now, which is cool. Not everyone has to ascend right now. Then there are those who are going to move into a 5D timeline. And this is what I'm talking about when I talk about ascension. And this is what you're talking about when you talk about New Earth. New Earth is the destination that, as many human minds go, they see that as the outcome or the destination. And what it is a recreation of our current template. So our current template is the false matrix, and ascension is where we transmute, because remember, we are alchemists. So we transmute the false matrix back into its original form, also known as the divine matrix. Matrix does not mean a bad place, just in case anybody listening goes, oh no, she's talking about going from one matrix to another. Matrix simply means reality field. We have a very artificial reality field that we're in right now, which is why people say, oh, we're in a movie. It's kind of, it's a simulation. It's a very artificial environment. We are transmuting through our individual bodies and through our individual lives, the artificial into the organic, the upside down into the right way around, the pain into beauty. So that process is called ascension. That final outcome happens at the solar flash. And that's where we emerge as lighter bodied beings. I say lighter bodied beings because I don't want people to go, oh, I'm going to come out like an angel. I'm going to come out glowing in gold. Hey, maybe you will. Chances are you're still going to look as human as you do right now, just lighter, a lighter version of you, who is anchored in the truth of who you are as a multidimensional being. That's the version of you that is born to populate that 5D Earth, also called New Earth. That version of you is the version of you that you're being invited to access now. You do not have to wait for the ascension. Oh, when there's the solar flash, then I'm going to be able to access my higher consciousness. It's not like that at all. We're meant to access it now. It's just that at that point of the solar flash, we can no longer go back to the 3D body. So we're still going to have bodies. It's just a higher version of the existing body. So you take your same name, your same incarnation, your same history, your same memory into a new version of our planet. It's a cleansed version. So when I talk about New Earth, I'm talking about what many people refer to as Eden, a pristine garden, because that's what the earth is meant to be. And that point of the solar flash is a cleansing point. It's the point where every piece of plastic, every piece of pollution, everything connected to 3D consciousness, such as greed and division and fear and all of those things, they are collapsed in on themselves. They are melted. They are obliterated into light. And we then emerge at that ascension point as the higher self onto a higher planet. As much as I talk about the flash, and I make it sound like it's a second, your experience of it will be that. Your experience of it's going to be, oh, wow, 1 second I was walking down the road, the sun did something interesting, the lights went a bit odd, and then big flash from the sky. Then, from the perspective of the human's going to go, the next thing I knew, there was this flash from the sky, there was then a flash from my body. The flash from the body is when the body emits its own barrier, its own electromagnetic field and frequency to protect the body, whilst that great solar flash comes in and cleanses the planet around you. You're then going to walk out of that bubble onto New Earth. And I make that sound, I know I do, I know I make it sound like it's a 10-second process. In truth, time is suspended at that point. So it could be 100,000 years. It's going to feel like a couple of seconds, though. And in that couple of seconds, we have massive cleanup crews here on Earth who are our guardians that are already with us. that are going to step in to support the cleanup process, and we then get a do-over, essentially, which is, what would you do in your life if you got to do it on a clean planet? And by clean planet, I mean clean of fear, clean of trauma, clean of the debris and toxicity of the world that we once knew. What would we then do if we were in our own pristine, higher truth, embodied, living once again in Eden? That's where we're going. That's what this is all about. This isn't, we can kind of heal if we want to, but we don't have to if we don't want to. No, we're reaching a critical point right now. A new life on a 4D planet, or a new life on this planet. The difference, of course, is most people are going to say, I want to maintain my current body identity and experience a new life on the existing planet, because you've put so much work, for the most part, so much work into this life and into the person that you are right now. Wouldn't it be awesome to have that opportunity to be you in a higher form? So most people are going to say, I want that. I want that ascension vehicle, and I want that ascension opportunity. But there's no, this is not about passing and failing. This isn't about the right path and the wrong path. There's just two choices. And that's what I love about where we are right now. The timeline's holding every conceivable choice, but it's going to spit you out into one of two. And, where that point is, because people always say, when is that going to happen? It's going to happen when it happens, is the answer. No one is meant to know.
And that's people's attachment from a 3D sense, because people are looking at time, which time only exists in a linear form in 3D.
Exactly.
Whereas because it's just a concept that's been designed to keep, one of the very control mechanisms have been used to enslave us, and, wear a watch because we're like, I've got to be here at this time and work at this time. Like, that stuff just doesn't exist. And going into everything quantum, because that's basically what this all is, multiple quantum leaps. All the 3D-isms, obviously, like you say, will dissolve, including the financial systems and the very things that keep us debilitated and gripped down in this false matrix. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about quantum financial systems. I've done a lot of reading on it myself, a lot of looking at the currencies, the whole spectrum of it. And that, as I can see, only can operate in 5D consciousness. So those who go into that new world experience the quantum side of it as well, which doesn't have the corruption or the layers and everything that it does in the 3D, including the education side of stuff, including the medical side of stuff. Lots of technologies that we've not been expected, that have been hidden from us as well. But also what I see a lot of people doing, I mean, just like you said there, people are always going, when is it? When's it going to be? When's it going to be? And they're always looking outward for an event. People are also keep looking outward for saviors and med beds and the technology side of stuff. If people just go within, you'll actually realize, and I was saying this on a podcast the other week, is that people talk about white hats and black hats and all this kind of stuff. Yes, there absolutely is a military, carrying out a worldwide military operation, not your conventional military, and has been for several years. But the reality is, guys, you are the white hats and you are the med beds, because as soon as you come online and you have that alignment, you're pulling white light through your hat, your crown. And then when your energetic fields get that big, you're not just healing yourself, you're healing others. So you're already acting in a 5D capacity in a 3D earth, and that making you the med beds. You know what I mean? And if people can flip that to see that within themselves, mindset shift, bang, just like that, because then you realize just how the power is about us, because we project our realities, don't we? And it's because the med beds and the white hat and all the stuff's thrown in there. People need to see something objectively, don't they, to attach a thought, and then they attach time to it and stuff like that. But if you just take that all back, think more quantum, your thoughts will be quantum, and then what you see as your future higher self is more quantum. And that's kind of the message I've been trying to get to people, rather than sitting around arguing about when Trump's going to do this, and when so-and-so is going to do this, and when so-and-so is going to do this, and time. Yeah.
And disempower, because you're waiting on somebody else to do something else. And that is exactly the mentality of the false matrix. where we once lived. That is it. So of course, we're going to perpetuate the mentality that we knew, which was waiting for somebody else to take charge, waiting for the great solar flash, waiting for the QFS or whatever, the med beds, whatever it is, which is really the greatest trap to fall into, because it says, I'm not powerful, I can't do anything. But the whole message that I bring you is, you are the technology, you are the answer, you are the ascension, you are the solar flash, you are in fact the signal that sends a signal to the sun that says, okay baby, we're ready. The sun just answers us and says, oh, did you get that? Cool, the humans are ready, okay, let's go. But we are the gods who became convinced that we were less than. Not even that we weren't godly. We didn't walk around going, oh, I think I'm not godly. No, we walked around saying, I think I'm rubbish. I think I'm nothing. I think I'm loathsome. Like, that's how far down we fell into that hole, into that mindset. But we were always beings of absolute divinity, and sold a lie that we got to wait for an angel or some external circumstance to make everything okay. And I know that that's a very big sticking point for a lot of people, because they're cynical, they're jaded, and they're cynical from where they've lived in the false matrix. And then they say things like, oh, well, so how are you going to heal my financial situation then, Kerry? Or what am I supposed to do about this broken leg of mine, Kerry? Or must I just think my way out of it? You see, there's people who don't want to see light, support, help, truth. This is what the only ones that are going to really walk through this that we're going through right now are the warriors. And that does not mean you've got to be, flexing out there with a sword and a shield. It simply means you've got to have courage to love when nobody else is loving, to care when the people around you don't, to do the right thing when people around you are doing the wrong thing. It takes courage. It takes courage to be the light in a world of darkness. But it's okay, because we were born to do this. We were the mavericks that said, oh yeah, that sounds like fun. We did. Can you imagine? It's like I cannot imagine bungee jumping. My husband used to jump out of airplanes. He was in the army. The crazy fool used to jump out of airplanes. I can't even watch. I don't even know how he married me. I'm the last person on the planet that would ever do anything adventurous. Yet we all were those bungee jumping, airplane hopping fools that came in and said, yes, this sounds like fun. Because why? We knew that we could do this. We knew who we were. So when we speak with jadedness, or we speak with cynicism, or we speak with hopelessness, we're speaking from conditioning. And we've got to call upon that self, that version of ourselves that exists in the higher realms now. And say, okay, well, come on in and show me. You spoke about the white hat. I love that visual. It's so perfectly true. Yes, make your hat white, bring the divine light in, and just let it show you who you actually are versus who you've been told you are. Yeah,
absolutely. And yeah, I mean, everyone's embodying that to a point now. Everyone's feeling different emotions. Everyone's asking more questions. I know, like, many of my friends and family are seeking me out to ask me more questions about stuff. We're having lots of meaningful conversations. People are expressing a lot more opinions about how they feel about the wider world. And that's what we can do at the very least. Those of us who are very aware and, going through these enlightening phases, like, that's how we facilitate this process for our friends and family as well. It's not shaking them, why can't you see what I can see? It's like being that white hat, producing that white light, because that is what awakens your friends and family even further. People come around my house now, they never want to freaking leave, because it's like the energy here is just amazing. And it doesn't matter what side of the fence or thoughts or belief systems people had like over the last few years, like it's all there to be seen. And that's just one example. And I say that as an example because I'm trying to be that example, just like millions of others are now around the world. And I just encourage people to keep on that path of just going with it, like keep working on your inner self, and your authentic self, because when your authentic self comes out, that is what everyone literally buys into, because the conditioning has been made to make people be so far away from their authentic self. They're just full of self-doubt. They don't think they can achieve anything. And that's what this is all, that false matrix has been designed to do, to keep us in those low vibrational states.
Yeah.
But for the listeners out there all around the world, Kerry, where's the best place for them to find more about your work? I know you're active on social media, what you do from a coaching perspective, and where people can just find you in general to look at all your content.
Thank you. Kerry K, but it's Kerryk, because the Americans all spell my name wrong. They spell it with a C. So it's Kerry, Kerryk. And the website is kerryk.com, and all my social medias are there, but I'm everywhere. I'm on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. My handle on all social media is I am Kerry K, or you can just go to kerryk.com, the website.
Brilliant.
I don't do any private sessions, AJ, because a lot of people ask me for that. I don't do private sessions. I work really powerfully with people that if I did do a private session, I would blow some circuits. So it's much better for me to work with a group.
Yeah, absolutely.
That for me is the most powerful thing we can do right now. You spoke about being an example, and you are. I mean, you exude it, you live it. It's awesome speaking to you. But can you imagine the power of a whole lot of examples getting together in the same room? And whilst we're not physically in the same room, we're online at the same time, which means that around the world, we've got these little lights lighting up, and these examples becoming ripples into the collective consciousness of humanity. That is where ascension happens. And that's where I really, really, really love to work. It's in those powerful quantum spaces with people. And you know what's so cool about that? Then people say, I had no idea that I was this. So they don't leave going, oh, I'm transformed because of Kerry's work. They leave and they go, I'm transformed because of me. And that's what everybody needs to get to, you know?
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your schedule to come on the show today and just share all that enlightenment. It's the only thing I can really call it with everybody. You know, it's absolutely fantastic. And I love having conversations like this and bringing this kind of openness to people, you know, so it's almost like giving people, you know, permission to speak openly about all of this stuff. And anybody who comes to any of my channels and your channels will get exactly that. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, reach out to people who are going through a shift. You know, don't feel like if you feel on your own, that you are on your own, because you're not. There's billions of people going through this all right now. You know, my online community is just packed with people that are just like talking about all this stuff, what they're experiencing, what they're doing, the outdoor experiences they're now having, you know, the getting out in nature, the wild swimming, the grounding, growing food, like doing all that sovereign stuff and the self-sufficiency that we were all meant to do, and breaking free from all those programs and conditioning, you know, on a daily basis. And that's the beauty of it. And yeah, like you're saying, at a community level is where it's at. And it's so powerful. But ladies and gents, thank you so much for tuning in today. Please do share this, share with your friends and family, you know, because there's nothing but positive, enlightening information that's come out of today's show. But from me and Kerry, go and enjoy yourself. And like Kerry aptly said, this is the awakening, baby. Enjoy it. Much love.
Thank you, everyone.